Welcome to Wide Angle. Today we are in conversation with Maanveer Singh. So since none of you know Maanveer, I'm going to share a quick introduction with all of you, and then we'll have it from the man himself. So Maanveer has had a very interesting career. He started his career with door-to-door sales with Eureka Forbes before he moved on to direct selling. And then he set up his own export business for chemicals, which he ran very successfully for 5 years. Maanveer then worked in the BPO business with a few organizations, the last one being JP Morgan Chase. He started his training and development career 18 years ago, so that's a long, long time. Maanveer is an active participant and speaker at HR events and forums. For the last 10 years now, Maanveer has been associated with a company called Extended Disc International.
Any business that wants to thrive needs to have a team that communicates well. Extended Disc assessments are the perfect tools to take your team's performance to the next level. Unlike other personality assessment tools, Extended Disc goes beyond the theory developed by psychologist William Moulton Marston in 1928 and works alongside your team to teach them how to communicate, motivate, influence, sell, and lead. Your employees will learn how to successfully adjust their behavior by understanding how people are different, developing confident self-awareness, learning to identify the behaviors of others, and adjusting to various situations. Extended Disc provides participants with a map to personal and professional success. And all of Extended Disc's assessments can be tailored to your unique needs. Couple this with the best customer service out there, and Extended Disc is the perfect tool to ramp up your team's performance. Not just Disc, Extended Disc.
And he represents this company in India as well as in a few international markets. And this is the bit that I'm really interested in, and we're going to talk more about his association with Extended Disc. Maanveer is academically oriented and he believes in continuous learning. He recently, completed a course on consumer neuroscience and neuromarketing from the Copenhagen Business School. So very impressive. I have been personally associated with Maanveer for a very long time now. And I see Maanveer as a multifaceted, sensitive, and a very knowledgeable person. And I love his sense of humor. I'm not sure if he's aware that he has a super sense of humor, but he makes me laugh every time we are in conversation. I also think he has excellent people skills. He's very charming. And it's always a pleasure to chat with Maanveer. So Maanveer, let me extend a very warm welcome to you.
Thank you so much, Sajni. You've actually made my day, my week, my month with those kind words. It was so nice to hear you speak. I mean, you're an absolutely brilliant communicator, and my God, from the time I first met you till today, what a journey! What a journey! Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for this invitation. My honor, my privilege to be on Wide Angle. I have seen some of your recordings, and what a brilliant effort and initiative. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Maanveer. And on behalf of the Bukhatir Group, we are very grateful that you could take time out to chat with us today. And our employees would be really intrigued to know, what that special message is that you have for all of them. So let's just jump into action quickly then, shall we?
Sure.
Okay. So Maanveer, tell us more about the kind of work that you do right now. I know what you do and I love what you do, but I would like for my audience to get an idea of the kind of work that you do right now.
What I do right now, Sajni, is, as you mentioned rightly, I represent an organization called Extended Disc in India. And Extended Disc is primarily into providing psychometric assessments and behavioral profiling tools to organizations, to consulting firms, to recruitment firms, to training organizations that help them to understand people better from a behavioral perspective. Like you mentioned, when I started my career in training 18 years back, it was very general and generic training that I was doing.
Right.
Communication skills, leadership, team building, so on and so forth. That entire framework of what you call soft skills training. But at some point of time, I realized that there has to be more. There has to be something that goes deeper into enabling and training and developing people that is just more than a skill. So it has to come from behavior. You have to understand, because in a training room you sit down and you're sharing something with your audience, and you realize that some people are getting it, some people are not getting it, some people are connected, some people are distant, some people are aloof.
Yeah.
And why should the message not be understood by everybody when they are there, you are there? Why can't it be done? So this led me to try and understand what is this behavioral angle and dimension that, if it can be included in the process of co-learning, in the process of facilitation, in the process of training and education, how would it benefit people? How would the message get across? And how would people then go away with something that they can say, yeah, it's one thing I can work on. This thing I can do. This gives me hope. So I started exploring the behavioral dimension, the behavioral aspects, and that's when I got exposed to this concept of DISC. And I found it very fascinating that using statistical methods and psychological theory, a simple test of 24 assessments, 24 questions is put up, and a person answers it, his subconscious mind triggers in, and you get a report that is so brilliantly accurate. And the best I have heard is that, are you guys following me around? How can you know so much about me? Right? I mean, it is so fascinating that you are not telling the person anything. He is telling us who he is, and then we are helping him to get better. I mean, how much more gratification do you need in life than to have the psychological income of impacting people in their space with what they have told you about themselves? So whereas coaching will take you through a journey, you have to sit down 4, 5 times, 6 times, try and a little bit more about the person. The assessment gives it to you straightforward. So that's what we do right now. And that's what keeps me passionate. That's what keeps me engaged. That's what allows me to get up every morning and say, yeah, I can make a difference to one more person. I can make a difference to one more organization. I can make a difference to one more team. Yeah, I can do that.
Wonderful. That's fascinating. And I know I can hear the passion in your voice when you talk about DISC and using that as a tool to help people and organizations get better. In fact, for the benefit of our audience, the ones that don't know, we've actually used DISC with one of our business units here, and it's worked brilliantly. We got great feedback. In fact, I had one of my participants actually say the same thing. Are you guys following me around with a camera? How do you know so much about me? So great stuff. So let's talk about this a little more, Maanveer. You started your career with sales. So how did you suddenly, get exposed to the world of DISC? It couldn't have happened just one fine morning. So what was the journey?
Yeah, the journey was as follows. I was in sales. As you mentioned, I started my career in Eureka Pop, selling vacuum cleaners door to door. Went on to selling consumer products, office automation, did a lot of stuff in sales for many, many years. Sold all sorts of things, worked with the best of markets, worked with the worst of markets in terms of retail, you name it. So I had exposure to that ladder of selling. Somewhere along the line, this entrepreneurial bug was always bugging me, so to say, that I should do something. At that time, the internet was just opening up, the export markets were opening up, and I was researching some products, and I found out that Europe required some specialty chemicals called antioxidants that are used in nylon tire cord manufacture, The name of the product is 2-mercaptobenzimidazole. I don't even know till today what it does, but it is used in the extraction of the tire cord from rubber. I found that there are manufacturers in India, pockets of manufacturers, and they don't have exposure to international markets.
Right.
So I connected the two, and I had a superb economic honeymoon for 5 years. Made a lot of sense, make money here, make money there, make money in hard currency, make money in soft currency, and it was really, really fun. But then, like always, one doesn't factor in big things that can happen in your life when you're a small entrepreneur. And the big thing that happened to my life was China. And the big thing has happened to many people's lives recently is China, but we won't go in that direction. So when Chinese manufacturers started realizing that India is supplying this material to Europe, they started producing the same at prices that India could never match.
Right.
So the European buyers started buying obviously from China, and my business got over. So now 5 years I'm out of mainstream, and now I find that there is the honeymoon is over.
Yeah.
And what do I do now? Now going back to sales would be very embarrassing because my colleagues would have grown in 5 years.
Sure.
I would have to go back to them, possibly report to some of them.
Yeah.
And it's a small world, when you're at it for some time, it becomes a really small world as the size becomes smaller.
Sure.
And I said, hey, this is odd, this is embarrassing. So let me restart my career in an anonymous space
Okay.
where when I am working, people are sleeping.
Okay.
And when I am sleeping, people are working.
Okay.
So I went into the BPO space.
Right.
And because BPOs were generally working night shifts,
Right.
so I was pretty okay with that. US time, good for me. So I started my career actually with a financial services BPO called Ocwin, where I was specializing in skip tracing. That is just one step before collections. So you try to identify the person who's not paid, try and find his location. The moment you get his location, you give it to the collectors, and then they do the rest.
Right.
So that's how I started. Then I went on to a British BPO called Gold Shield, which was an inbound BPO for telesales. And so upselling, cross-selling, there again, my sales skills used to come into play. I used to do that a lot. And then I got this job in JP, and JP was really, really good. Fantastic environment, lovely food,
Yeah.
superb ambience, nice transport facilities, 4 per car, very decent. And JP Morgan is, of course, class.
Yeah.
That. When you're working in a BPO, Sajni, generally you fall in love with your trainers.
Yeah.
Because they can make you do very funny things with your voice.
Yeah.
They can make you do funny things with the computer. You press this plus that, you press this plus that, this opens up, then you do this, and this gets activated. And you're really in awe. You're completely in awe.
Oh, yeah.
And in JP Morgan, the trainers were really fabulous. So, top of the line trainers. So you were like, my God, you would worship the ground on which they walked, that kind of feeling you had towards your trainers. And then one day we had this external facilitator walk in, and he talked about this concept called DISC.
Oh, okay.
And he said that, you can on the call, by the tone of people's voice, by the words that they use, you can figure out their behavioral styles, and then you can adjust your communication.
Right.
Now you're already in love with your trainers.
Yeah.
You have this irritation for behavior, human behavior, niggling you. And this guy comes in and talks about this thing called DISC. And he looks at me and says, one day you'll make a good trainer. That's all I needed. Next morning, I went to the head of HR in JP and I said, I'm resigning. And he said, what? He says, we marked you for accelerated growth. You're one of the fast track guys, and you don't know where you will be in 3 months and 6 months, and your career graph is like this, and you see this projection and all that. I said, listen, Anuj, put me in training or I'm leaving.
Wow.
So he says, what is wrong with you? He says, you are in process. You're this. I said, Anuj, training or leaving? He said, I'll make you assistant team leader right now. I said, Anuj, training or leaving? He said, Maanveer, you're putting me in a tough spot. I said, okay, it's done. I'm leaving. He was very upset. He said, I'm giving you 3 days time. Think about it. Come back. I'm not accepting your resignation. And I went from there to that external trainer's office. I found out where his office was. I landed up over there. And this guy looks at me and he says, you look familiar. I said, yeah, I was in your batch in JP Morgan yesterday. They said, oh, don't you need to go back to work? Don't you have a shift or something? I said, I quit. He said, why? I said, you said I'll make a good trainer. Make me a trainer. He says, you are mad completely. I said, I don't care. You said it in front of people. I want to be a trainer. Make me a trainer. Small mom and pop shop office. Very small organization. He gave me a fantastic looking appointment letter. I never saw what was mentioned on that appointment letter ever in one packet.
Right.
But that was it. But honestly, that's where I got exposed to the concept of DISC for the first time. And when I learned DISC, Sajani, at that time, it used to be paper pencil. You know, like the GMAT answer books.
Yeah.
We used to have questionnaires and we used to give those answer books to people.
Yeah.
And then we would fax those answer books to the US.
Oh.
And wait by the fax machine, and by reel, the reports used to come from the US, and then we would take photocopies so that they don't, fade away. Those fax machines of those days, and we would take photocopies of those reports, and then we would study them. And now you answer 24 questions in 3 seconds flat. The report is in your inbox. But that's where I learned this. That's how I learned this. That's how I learned training.
Wow.
Now, what happened was that he taught me all the skills of training until today. Every year on Guru Purnima, the first call that I make is to thank him for what he did to me till today. He's more or less retired now. He's a semi-retired person. He still does a little bit of coaching and consulting, health challenges and so on and so forth. But I will never, ever forget him for that inflection and the turning point in my life. As we were growing in that company, I started becoming very comfortable with DISC, and I told him, I said, I'm going to get myself certified through you, because he was a master trainer with a competing brand at that time. So I got myself certified in his DISC version that he represented.
Right.
And the founder of that organization called him up from the US and said, who is Maanveer Singh?
Okay.
So this guy said, why do you ask? He says the way he has analyzed and conducted his DISC examination. Now, that time we had a 3-hour online examination, right? So he said the way he has analyzed profiles and provided his interpretation, I have not seen anybody do it in all these years.
Wow.
And this guy was a very high D. So he turns around and tells me, it seems you have managed to impress the Americans. That is his version of a compliment, right? Now, I told him, I said, okay, if I am good, allow me to train with you on DISC. He says, that I will not let you do.
Okay.
I said, why? I said, your principles are suggesting that I am good. I am not saying it. My marks, of course, academically say that I've scored, in the top 2% of the world in DISC.
Right.
But why don't you let me train? He said, no, that is my prerogative. That's my domain expertise. I don't want to put anybody else in front.
Wow.
So I said, okay, time to move. That is it. Then time to move. So I moved out, set up my own stuff, started doing, looking for project assignments and soft skills, this thing, that thing. Wherever I could, I started using DISC. I had to buy from him only because I did not have exposure to anybody else. So I bought from him, did assignments on DISC, whatever little assignments I could do. And somewhere along the line, I was this bug, as it was there. I started researching. I said, why do I have to buy from somebody local? Why can't I take advantage of international exposure and pricing and benefits and so on?
Right.
So I researched and I found Extended DISC as an organization globally. I saw their reports online, some of them. I liked them very much. So I wrote to them. I said, hey, I don't think you have representation in India. I am DISC certified in another company, of course. But at least I know the primary framework and I understand the methodology. So would you be interested in, talking to an Indian? And I get a reply saying that our global CEO is visiting India next week because some consultants have shortlisted 2-3 other people in Delhi.
Right.
So if you can go to Delhi and meet him, you have a chance.
Right. Wow.
1 week away, all right?
Wow.
Just imagine if I had done this a week later, what would have happened? I don't know. Don't even want to think about it. But so I went to Delhi And he says, you've got some uncanny knack of timing. How did you figure it out? I said, I don't know. It's just, you know. He said, listen, we are not into offering exclusive stuff, and we have 3 resellers. 2 will be based in Delhi, you will be based in Bombay, so that's perfectly all right. I said, that's fine. And so I started off as a reseller, which means I had my own company, and Extended Disc International, we had an agreement of a reseller. About 6 months after, immediately after becoming a reseller, I got my first project. Then I did about 22 people. Then I did another project with 76 people within the next 2 months, and that made their ears, I think, really stand up. This guy is, what's it? I mean, he's out to prove a point.
Yeah.
And I started having certifications. I had 2 certifications in India, and both our global CEO and his wife, who used to look after marketing at that time, both came down to India. They saw the quality and the caliber of people who attended the certification programs. They saw how we were hosting it.
Right.
They were very, very happy. And at the end of the program, they told me, would you like to carry the brand Extended Disc in India?
Wow.
I said, yes, I'd love to do that. And then they invited me for the next world meeting, which was in Hammerfest, Norway. And since then, journey continues. It's been 10 years.
Wow, that's such a fascinating and exciting journey, Maanveer.
Yeah, I know.
You could write a book on it.
I know. It's a blessing. It's nothing but a blessing, I think.
Beautiful. So we've been hearing you mention DISC a few times now. So tell us what DISC is in a way that all our viewers can understand and appreciate the concept.
All right. So can I share some slides?
Yes, please.
Okay, so this has been specially prepared for this conversation. This is the Wide Angle series, so thank you once again for having me on that series, and thank you to the Singh-Bukhatir group for initiating such exciting initiatives at these times.
Thank you, Maanveer.
So I'm going to try and ask you to imagine, and ask our viewers to imagine a gated community. Try and imagine a gated community where there are 4 exclusive residences. Okay. One residence has a boundary wall of intuition and task orientation or thinking.
Okay.
And I put up a picture of a Margaret Thatcher, whom I think represents that part of the gated community very well.
Okay.
This person could be defined as a combination of being intuitive, which means this person uses her sixth sense, their sixth sense most of the time, but they're also very interested in results.
Okay.
Now, people describe these people as the great project leaders. They're idea creators. They have very, very big vision and very big ideas. They're pioneers in doing things. Sometimes they may be interpreted or maybe perceived as being in a hurry. They could be interrupt off you. They could be doing a couple of things at the same time. They may not appear to be polite. They're not rude, but the way in which they speak, that is natural to them, may seem impolite to other people.
Okay.
Now, this is one of the homes in that gated community, which is typically a combination of intuition and thinking or task orientation.
Okay.
Now, think of another person who stays in that gated community, and I have Robin Williams over here, right? He shares that intuition wall with the first person.
Okay.
But he's also got another territory which is very special to him, which is the feelings. So the top person was task orientation. This person is feelings orientation.
Okay.
He likes to be with people. He likes to be around people. He likes to be social. He likes to be friendly.
Okay.
All right. And he uses his sixth sense, but he's also interested in the emotional part of the relationships with people.
Okay.
People think of him as talkative, communicative, performer, merrymaker, idea generator, so on and so forth. He's open and friendly. He likes to talk about the positive side of things. And that's the Robin Williams imagery that I have.
Right.
That's the second home in this gated community.
Sure.
Now I have somebody else in the gated community who's Lady Diana. Okay. Now she shares the feeling and people wall with the Robin Williams kind of a person. But there's another dimension to her behavior, and that is the sensing. So unlike the intuition, she uses the five senses. So these people like security, they're shy people, they love belonging to a team, they prefer predictability, they prefer continuity, they like to get a sense of all the details and all the information. And sometimes people think them to be very deliberate, very careful, very stable, very systematic. They don't get into your face. They are very, if you look at her clothes also, they're not outlandish. There's no brightness in them. They're very simple. Her jewelry is very simple. The clothes are very simple. Her eyes are very, very straightforward. Feet on the ground. They've got a very balancing force. So that's the third person, the third home in this gated community. And the fourth person that I have is an Albert Einstein. Now, look at what he's sharing. He's sharing the sensing wall with the Lady Diana kind of person. But now he's also sharing the thinking wall with the Margaret Thatcher kind of a person.
Right.
He's an analyst. It's a data bank. He's got a lot of information. He's likes to work alone. He likes to take things to specialize in, and he likes to work alone. Does not like to work in a team. He's a combination of sensing and thinking. People describe this person as somebody who's a rule follower. He fears to be wrong. He likes to focus on details. He's very polite in an extremely diplomatic manner. He likes to keep things in order. Right now, that's this kind of a person. I call it the fourth protocol. When you put these people together on a behavioral map, there are four regions of behavior. If we combine these walls and we merge them, there are four regions of behavior that they're called dominance, influence, steadiness, and compliance. And that's from where DISC gets its acronym DISC.
Right.
Okay. The beauty of extended DISC is that besides identifying people's behavioral styles, we are also able to conclusively and comprehensively understand the expression of emotions and feelings in people. So we can look through the behavioral profiles and find out what people are thinking and feeling at this point of time. And that becomes an extremely important takeaway for organizations who are doing OD, they're doing L&D, they're doing TNA, they're trying to find out how to develop people, move people, rotate people, empower people. It's important to find out how people are feeling about the organization, their roles, and so on and so forth. So that's a crash course on this.
Wow, it's quite fascinating. I'm sure that's just the tip, the very, very tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, it is.
The deep study goes much, much, much beyond.
Yes.